Today is one of the greatest days in America, especially this season. It's opening day. Baseball is back for a full 162 game schedule. It is an extremely exciting time for New York sports as we see well represented on each side. But we're going to talk about the whole league in general in a very important year for the sport. But to talk baseball with me, once again, returning guest, the great Alex Young. Once again, how you doing, Alex?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited. Baseball is back. I've been waiting for it for so long. We get a full season instead of 60 games. I'm super excited to be talking about it. Thank you again for having me back here, Matt. I'm super amped.
Always, Alex. You know you're one of the best to ever do it. And then another great guy, another one of the best, Alessandro Viviano. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, could not be more excited for opening day. Could not be more excited. This is a very pivotal year for baseball. I agree with you, Matt Brown. I think baseball, especially since we're going to do the 162 season, needs to come out hot and heavy for the fans this year. So I'm excited for that to happen. And I'm excited because the Yankees are quite good. Quite good. We'll get into that.
We will indeed. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about the Yankees. We're going to talk about the Mets. Then we're going to talk about some random teams that may excite us and surprise us, go through over-unders. Then we're going to hit some player rewards, and then we're going to pick who we think is going to win it all. But first things first, guys. As I mentioned, it's a pivotal year for baseball. Not only for the fact that it is back, and then assuming that we're all continuing to follow the rules, listening to science, we'll get fans back in the stadium. At least we are starting to slowly see them. New York State, 20%. I think only Texas, the crazy Texas people of Florida are 100%. And we know their teams either piss us the hell off or don't have to worry about that in playoff contentions, aka Astros to the Marlins or whatever. But another reason why baseball, specifically, this is an important year is because there's a lot of rumors growing that after this season, when the collective bargaining agreement officially expires on December 1st, they expect that there's a great chance that there could be a work stoppage, that there could be another strike. This is as a result of player and owner tensions really going high, especially amongst player acquisitions. A lot of owners focusing more on international pools to get players, which has been really upsetting the Players Association. Another reason is the fact that a lot of older players are having a hard time finding teams and getting contracts again because owners don't want to pay for players, especially over 30, if they're not contending at a special level like they used to, except for the special player, your Trouts, your Mookie Betts, who we've seen get signed and stuff like that. And, still fighting over the luxury tax has been a problem as well. But there's so much going on, and I really hope there's no labor dispute for baseball's sake, because it will turn a lot of people off. But Alex and Andy, tell me, you guys nervous? You think there's a chance that baseball will come back? We'll start with Alex. Should we take this year, especially if there is going to be a strike?
Yeah, of course. I think this is a very pivotal year. We've talked about it a little bit. You addressed the issues that are happening. I think another key issue that's going to be talked is recently, and we just saw again with Jared Kelenic, is service time manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
That these owners
sure.
their prospects down just to get an extra year so they don't have to pay them big contracts, at their prime years, right? So I think that's a huge thing looking at this year, all the prospects that are going down. Start Sixto Sanchez, another, player that we just saw get called down. So I think that's a huge thing going to labor negotiations. And like I said, I think this is a pivotal year. I would hate to see, a strike happen. I think we're heading in that direction just from everything that's going on. So this is a pivotal year for everything, Spotlight, the ratings on television ratings, they haven't been doing great these last few seasons. They really have to, early on when we were discussing before we went live, they really have to start hot and heavy, because they have to get tune in, they have to get numbers, they're getting destroyed in ratings by other leagues. So This is a really, really pivotal year for baseball because, if the excitement's there and everything's there, I think, it would be easier to negotiate certain things, but I think there's, we're going down a path, where things are getting a little bit too stretched out. And unfortunately, it's looking towards a strike, at this point, which we all as baseball fans would hate to see. We love baseball. We hate to see, fighting happening and, long gaps without baseball. But I think we are really heading in that direction unless, something drastic happens these next few months.
Absolutely. What do you have to add on to that, Andy?
Well, I think Alex did an excellent job covering quite comprehensively most of the issues. I think another really interesting thing to think about is the ability for the service time absolutely has to be addressed. It is abusing both the players and the MLB fans and taking these incredible players away from the spotlight which they belong in. Another kind of interesting thing that I was thinking about is with television contracts becoming so important and so lucrative because there's all these channels now. You know, Paramount has their Paramount Plus, Hulu has live sports. All these television contracts are quite up in the air over the next coming years. And I think another thing is we saw so much change during the lockout season. We saw a 60-game schedule. We saw an expanded playoff push. That was fun. Yeah. That actually added teams into the playoff picture that normally over in 162, you know, the Miami Marlins might not get into the playoffs. But last year they were an incredible run, and that's what they did. Don Mattingly won, you know, Manager of the Year. So I think it's pivotal this year for baseball either to get with the times and change or to watch their fandom. I mean, there's still people who love baseball and there will always be people who love baseball. But the fact that Mike Trout is a generational talent and less recognizable, there was a statistic of Kenneth Farid, you know, who used to be a basketball player 2 years ago, was more popular than Mike Trout, more recognizable. So I think it's time with Major League Baseball to get with the times and own up because we love baseball and we want to keep it around.
Yeah, you both hit the nails on the head, especially, Andy, when you were talking about, obviously, baseball, we've talked about they have a popularity and marketing problem. And if you stop the sport outright, why would you give anybody a reason to watch anymore? I mean, we saw the 94-95 strike, how bitter people were, and the steroids era honestly saved it. You can't really promise that now. There was less options to watch in sports. Now you can watch anything. And if you really give people a gap year, it's just going to make it worse and worse. And now you have these, so you have just so many players with so much swagger now, and so coming from ethnic backgrounds too, that could be so marketable, like a Tatis we have seen, or like a Tim Anderson in Chicago White Sox is fun to watch, and he is a hilarious personality.
Soto.
Juan Soto. You know, Francisco Lindor is fun. Another guy with swagger, fun to watch. Aaron Judge is a marketable guy. But yeah, baseball has this problem doing it. And we could have had at least 100-game season. It took the players and owners fighting well to the beginning of the summer that it was too late. And I'm surprised with all these changes that they didn't bring him back. We're not going to have expanded playoffs this year. No universal DH to give more players, hitters an option.
Mistakes. Honestly, I mean, in my opinion, fully on mistakes. I think they took good steps toward a more modern Major League Baseball game in which, because let's face it, I love baseball. It's a long time. It's 4-hour games every time, you know, and that's great. But especially with a new generation of people with a lack of attention span. Wow, exactly, just like I just exhibited, a lack of attention span. I think the quicker it moves, honestly, the better these days.
Yeah,
I totally agree too. And I just go off, like, taking away the universal DH, I think was a really bad decision. I think all of us, we didn't know how we felt at first, because if you're dire baseball fans, you're kind of purists, and you know we don't want to see the game change that much. But then we see the universal DH, and it's like, wow, this is exciting, you know. And people are like, well, you know, sometimes it's fun to see a pitcher hit a home run. There are some pitchers that can hit. Jacob deGrom can hit. You know, most of the Mets pitchers can hit pretty well, right? So if you want to have them hit, put them in the DH. But it's just you know, just having that option there to get these extra hitters. I think the pace of play would also change a little bit.
Absolutely.
But it also helps getting these young players in. Like we saw Dom Smith have a breakout year because we had that you know, a universal DH, and he can get reps because he didn't have to be behind Pete Alonso or platoon with him. So just them pulling it away, to me, it just shows again, just like the lack of them paying attention to their fans and just marketing things. And just a quick point with marketing, they had an interview, like Dom Smith interviewed Barry Bonds, right, a few months ago, and Barry Bonds doesn't really do a lot of interviews, right? If I didn't scroll on my Twitter on that day that they were doing it, I would have not known that this really cool interview with Dom Smith and Barry Bonds was happening.
I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds,
Wow.
a legend, arguably one of the 10 best players of all time. Arguably.
And it was great. And it was like, I watched, the first, it was like an hour-long interview. I watched the first 30 minutes, and I was like, just listening to Barry Bonds and, his attention to the game and what he means to baseball. And you could argue everything about Barry Bonds, everything about him, but he is one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player to ever play this game, right?
Yeah.
And we don't see him often. So it just shows to me, like, if I didn't scroll on Twitter and just live now, Dom Smith talking with Barry Bonds, or rewatch this, I wouldn't have known. That should have been everywhere to me. That should have been on Twitter. That should have been on MLB's Instagram. There should have been countdowns and things. It just was like, all of a sudden I scrolled up. So it just shows, like, there's certain things, other companies do to market something as important as that. It was like a social justice conversation. It was a baseball conversation. It was a little bit of everything, and it was awesome. But if I didn't scroll on Twitter that day as a baseball fan, I would have not known about this awesome interview that took place. So there's just some flaws and things that we saw, and you can just look. They just took things away that baseball fans wanted more of, and that just doesn't make sense, as a fan.
Baseball
it's
really
not like they don't have the money.
They
have the money to market their stars. They really do.
They do.
It's just a failure to do so. Honestly, Rob Manfred needs to take some lessons from Adam Silver and go overseas and promote his players. Because honestly, you either get with the time, you get busy living, or you get busy dying. And like, I love baseball. It needs to move a little faster.
Yeah, and like, baseball is its own worst enemy. Historically promoting their famous players and obviously taking care of the popular player now. And baseball needs to take advantage of, like, a lot of these players from Latin countries with so much swagger. Javier Baez is obviously mentioned Tatis already. Kluber Torres is another one. Lindor. You have to really showcase these athletes. You have to incorporate them. You have to bring some Latin stars to show it, especially with the rise of Latin music coming in the mainstream. You need to have, I don't know, I can't think of the Latin rappers who are baseball fans. They're bound to have them. But if you can have like a J Balvin, Bad Bunny, Ozuna, and have these players from the same countries these players come from and showcase them off, you're only helping your cause. You got to help the players who come from the inner cities as well to have them, give a shit again. And you just got to let players be themselves, like NBA's been extremely successful at with social media. The NFL has been good at it. Soccer, a lot of soccer leagues are good showcasing their stars. Baseball is just, it's a stereotype of being an old person's league, and this is the only way you could do it. It started, no offense to hockey. I like hockey and stuff like that, but you don't want to get on the NHL's level where when they have a big deal with ESPN, nobody cares on a mainstream level. It's like jazz almost. And it's, whether it's our popular teams being good to lead the charge, hopefully as this pandemic ends, we could start getting players more in the seats and stuff. You just have to take advantage, use your TikToks, use your social media marketing, make people care again. And also baseball just sucks again. Like I said, historically, you have to showcase the controversial player. Obviously we could talk all day with the steroids, the moral arguments, the right and wrongs and stuff. Even though we could say there's plenty of people who took the roids and still sucked, quite frankly. Obviously better than me.
But the roids saved baseball.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But there were players that, like you just said, took them and sucked. But it did save baseball in a sense.
Exactly.
Really,
you need to bring these. Barry Bonds is the home run leader, and baseball doesn't celebrate him. All that beef going on there. A-Rod, I know A-Rod's a very polarizing figure, but the fact that he still cares about the game so much, he's probably not getting the Hall of Fame. I know the steroids with that, but him dating J-Lo and being a big
Broke
star.
up and now they're back together. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's just a wild story going on.
Yeah.
But
I mean, why not? I guess if you're A-Rod and you're J-Lo, I guess why not?
why not?
Then you have Pete Rose, scrappy player. I really think
that's
any
crazy.
generation can like him.
Pete Rose should be in the Hall in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Bet on himself. Wouldn't you rather have the case like that?
Yeah. I mean, he didn't cheat the game. I understand.
Yeah.
He broke a really bad rule, but does that negate him from? Did he ever? Like I'm saying, did he ever cheat steroids? We don't know. We pretty much probably not. But he just broke a really really bad rule. He did the same thing. Shoeless Joe Jackson with betting on the team and all that stuff. I understand that it's a big rule, but he should be in the Hall regardless. It's not someone like Barry Bonds or A-Rod or all this stuff that for a majority of their career, it's assumed that they were taking steroids.
It's so ironic how the MLB hit leader and home run leader are not in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And you have to, if you want people to care about his history, you have to talk about him.
Yeah. That's and Barry Bonds is a part of the game. And I know people argue this all the time, but if you look at his stats even before, where you think he started using steroids, he is a Hall of Fame player. The dude was doing things on the field that no one did, the multiple home runs and multiple steals in the seasons and all that stuff. And it's just in the Hall of Fame supposed to tell the story of the game, right? And I understand, yes, they did steroids and they cheated, but it's a story of the game. Those us as kids, we were glued to the TV watching Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa smack home runs. Is what got us into the sport for a lot of us. And me, Mike Piazza is the guy that really got me into baseball. But same thing. I was glued watching those four guys and Ken Griffey Jr. pretty much doing unreal things every week.
Doing damage.
And it's they're all part of history. And Bonds I think should be in. I know a lot of people don't agree with me on there, but he's the home run leader. And at first, I didn't want him in there, but now it's he's a part of the game. He's part of the reason why baseball is popular. He's part of the reason why baseball survived in the 90s and the 2000s. Yep. He should.
If the Hall is about the history of the game, then you cannot tell the history of this sport without those players.
Exactly.
That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
Bottom line.
Very true point.
Who knows? Just hope. Just hope. But with this season, it is, like I said, there's plenty to be excited about. And if any way baseball could keep its momentum up, it'd be with this season. And let's get into it. Let's talk about all things 2021 baseball. First, let's talk about the local teams. As you can see, Alex is a Met fan representing the Mets Nation. Me and Andy representing the Yankees. But one thing that is fair, I think, in the culture is that both Yankees and Mets fans, I think, fairly pay attention to both teams. And I think also this year, it's going to be much different. This might be the first year. I don't know how you feel, Andy, with this or Alex, but since Steve Cohen bought the Mets and all the funny things there, you might see a little tension. Both teams are projected to do extremely well. You might even see a little rivalry. I feel like, obviously, we have our teams we hate. Obviously, Yankee fans hate Red Sox and the Astros now equally. It's crazy. Another thing, Manfred just pansy not taking that World Series away. Yeah. And it's just the momentum. Hopefully they'll still get booed the shit out of all year.
Yeah, we'll get to the Astros later. They'll get there.
For sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, guys, how you feel about this. Do you feel like there's any, as the season goes on and both teams are potentially, there's a legit chance you might see a Subway Series? Hopefully not jinxing it saying that. But the fact that both teams have great rotations, it's funny, they both have great rotations, both great position players. Bullpens are iffy, but they could very well be a Yankees Mets World Series. Just, do you guys feel that there's any tension between the Yankee fan and the Met fan this year?
I think that's really exciting when both New York teams are really good. I mean, I think it's great for baseball because two of the big market teams are front and foremost, and you can see almost all of their games nationally. I think that's awesome. I think Steve Cohen is trying to do his best. Joseph Tsai impression who bought the Brooklyn Nets. I think Steve Cohen is pumping all that money in, and I think it's a good investment. I think locking up Lindor is number one. I saw they went 10 years today, right? 10 years, 300 mil was the offer today, right? And
for Lindor.
Yeah,
Yes,
that was reported offered. No official deal yet, but we'll definitely get into that shortly about Lindor.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. But yeah, it's exciting. Honestly, I grew up in New York City. My dad sang the anthem for the Mets for like a game, like at least one game for like 30 straight years.
That's awesome.
Al Viviano. He had a fan club and everything. It's great. But I root for the Mets unless they're playing the Yankees. So I would like to let you know I'm not a Mets hater here. In fact, I embrace the Mets. But when they step on the field with the team, it's a different story. Let's just put it there.
And that's totally fair. Like I said, I have no ill will towards Yankee fans. I don't think there is a rivalry. I think I agree, totally that when both New York teams are going to be competing, it's so much fun. And the fact that Steve Cohen comes in and treats now the Mets as a big market team, it's just so exciting. And I know there's certain things that, these last few weeks with Lindor and the contract, and we can talk about that in a little bit. Cohen going on Twitter, like, how much should we offer Lindor? I wasn't like a fan of that stuff. Yeah, like I wasn't a fan of like that kind of stuff. But just the fact that he went out there, he got Lindor, he should like kind of saying, we're building this team, getting Carrasco. I know he's hurt, but building a team and getting the needs that we've finally been asking for. And I know center field is iffy. I know third base is going to be a little iffy as well. But like just the fact that both position lineups, they're going to be a lot of fun, a lot of pop in both of them. Pitching's going to, we have, DeGrom, Cole, you can argue 1A, 1B in the MLB. It's just going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. And like I said, once the Subway Series goes on, I'm rooting on for Mets. Like you guys are going to be rooting on for the Yankees. And like we said, at the end, I would love another, Subway Series, World Series. I know the first time it didn't go well for the Mets, but maybe this time it'll be a little bit more competitive with the players that are going to be on the field. Like, who would not love to see Lindor go up against Garrett Cole? All this stuff, Conforto, Judge, all these different lineups that we could see. Dom Smith and his personality in like the World Series, like media and all that stuff. Like, I think, like we said, if both teams looking like on paper that they're going to be super successful, it just makes everything exciting in New York for all baseball fans. All New York baseball fans we're super excited. And because usually as Mets fans, we go to a season like we could do it, but usually it falls apart, right? Now, like this year, we have that confidence, similar to what you guys have these last, 15 years, that every year you guys feel, except for, a couple little iffy years in between, that you guys are going to make it to the World Series, right? Like this is like the year for us Mets fans. Like we can make a run in the playoffs if everything goes well. So it's just super exciting.
Yeah. One of the bum things is the way it panned out, I believe, last season with the Mets is if they swept their last series, they would have made the play-in. But now you've added your team is completely different in all assets. And let's transition to that. Let's talk about the Mets. It's been quite the offseason. I'm sure, Alex, as a Met fan, you are so glad it's over. From obviously scandals to having a brand new owner to humongous acquisitions, arguably made the biggest move trading for Francisco Lindor. Now you added James McCann to the bunch. Obviously, Cookie Carrasco, once he gets back, he's a legit arm. You have a Noah Syndergaard coming back in the middle of the season. You had, obviously, Pete Alonso did have a sophomore slump, but he's due for another good year. Dom Smith,
really
if he could make it.
He looked really good in spring. I do have to say, from the spring games I saw, he had that pop back and hitting the all field. So we're hoping for a good
definitely a key for the Mets this year to get Pete back on track. Huge key.
Definitely. And yeah, he's still got Conforto in there due for a big contract. Jeff McNeil is coming back. But first things first, to talk about the Mets, as we mentioned, Francisco Lindor, as we're recording this 2 days before opening day. By the time we're recording this, there might be a deal. First of all, Alex, do you expect, with everything going on with Lindor, as we're talking, Francisco Lindor first said, if there are no deals made before opening day, I'm not going to negotiate. I'm going to play it out, see where that goes. But first things first, Alex, by the time we record this, do you feel Francisco Lindor is going to get signed in a huge extension. And are you more in favor of he should get, I believe it's 12 years, 385 million,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
or the other
Yeah.
one is
That
10
was the
years,
number he's asking for.
that's his
and then
ask,
the other
yeah.
deal is 10 years, 325. So
26, right? 27?
probably around that range. At
Yeah.
least definitely.
It's over 320
Yeah.
for yeah.
But Alex, what do you think? What do you think Francisco Lindor, what do you think is going to be unfolding here? And what do you want to see? I mean, I think we know what you want, but
yeah.
what do you expect?
I think they're going to try to find some middle ground. I think he just wants that extra 2 years of security. And I don't know if that's what the Mets are going for. You know, he's going to be in his mid-30s towards the end of his contract there. It's like, do you really think he can be an everyday shortstop if we don't have universal DH and the money involved? So, like, I understand why the Mets are being a little weary on giving him those extra 2 years. As a Mets fan, I want this done. I want this as soon as possible. I don't want this to be a 1 year rental. It's not like, you know, and I understand, like, before Mookie signed that big deal, that's what a lot of people thought. Like, Mookie was going to come in, they'll win World Series, he'll enter free agency, and then maybe he goes back to the Dodgers or maybe he goes to another team, right? Like, I don't want that to happen because, you know, as much as I think the Mets can compete for a World Series, I don't think they're like the Dodgers, right? Where they just knew there are a few pieces here and there away to being, winning a World Series, right? So I want him there, and I think as Mets fans, we want him here, and I don't want to go into opening day with him just like playing on a rental, and now we're all worrying if he's going to stay long term, and then if he struggles, let's say, then like Mets fans might boo him or whatever because he didn't want to be here or whatever the case would be. Like, I want this deal done, and I don't know if like maybe they find some common ground. Maybe instead of 12, they give him 11 and they add a few, whatever extra dollars. But I really want him back. I think he's gonna be, the new, face of the Mets here, obviously. And you don't want someone like that who you traded a ton of assets for walk away for nothing. So I really hope these next few days they sit down, they hash things out, and then they make some deal. If maybe they give him 10 and they give him a little bit extra money, then he's fine. But I know the team loves him already. I know Pete said he should be getting like 400 million and all this stuff. Like, he's vouching for him to get paid, and that's a really, really good sign that these guys want him here. It's just, I want this done. I think the Mets fans would feel a lot more comfortable if this deal was done than not,
Right. And you do feel he does deserve this cash.
Yes, absolutely. He's arguably a top 10 player in baseball, and he's arguably the best shortstop other than Tatis in my eyes. So yes, I think he is very entitled compared to what Machado and Harper got a few years ago. He is entitled to that money for sure.
Isn't it crazy how that was a few years ago, yet they kind of fell off, especially Harper. Harper at one point was arguably the face of baseball, and he seems to go through the motions down Philly. Do you feel the same way about that, both Andy and Alex? Just random note with Harper and Machado.
I see Harper having a pretty good year this year, honestly, over 162. I think the talent is just undeniable, and over 162, it's going to show through. That's actually I still don't think they make the playoffs because the NL East is brutal, but I do think they contend into October. I wish we had the expanded playoffs because they'd probably be my third wild card.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think Bryce Harper is great. I think, the sooner you lock up Lindor, the better, because you don't want to get into, God forbid, we get into July and the Mets are hovering at 500, and you don't even want to have to ask the question of are we dealing him right now for assets at what we? So yeah, definitely first things first. I think you just pay the man what he wants. I think he works hard enough that he's 26 now. 12 years would put him at what?
Yeah, he's 27 now.
27, so 39. I mean, it's so crazy when we're talking about baseball contract as compared to almost every other sport, just because
Especially
you
football.
can insure an all-star hitter up to the age of 37, 38. It does detract that, you're in the NL and you don't have that designated hitter. But I think, honestly, by that time, you will have the designated hitter. By the time Lindor's reaching his 9th, 10th, 11th year of contract, I do believe the NL will have a DH. I just don't think they can hold out for that much longer.
Definitely.
Truthfully.
Right. And, the one thing I have to say, though, Alex, big. I think it's funny we're starting to realize it, but the big thing coming in when you have billionaire hedge fund owner Steve Cohen buy the Mets, you thought he was just, as many people thought, oh, he could just throw him anything he wants. Or that's where I guess the confusion is why no Springer was acquired or Bauer, but we know the various reasons why that. But is there anything else to that, or we're just realizing that it's great to have Cohen as always, obviously 10 times better than the Will Pods, but it still is a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I'm loving everything that's happening. And I think maybe in one of our conversations we had on the show, I remember we brought up the Mets for a quick second. And I told you during that Steve Cohen press conference that he said he wasn't going to throw money if it didn't make sense.
I believe you're right. I remember
about the money that he spent, right? So we clearly see that. Obviously, as Mets fans, when we first saw him, we're like, throw money at Springer, bring Bauer, bring everyone, right? And you're delusional at first, right? And you're delusional as a Met fan. We're all seeing we can get Bauer, Springer. Oh my God, McCann, get us everyone. And it just it's unrealistic. And I knew that once I sat and watched the press conference, I heard Coach say, we're not going to throw money just because we have it, right? We're going to be smart about what we do. And we see that. And I'm happy with the things, that the decisions that were made. That I think that maybe we could have landed a Springer over a Bauer. Yes. I know we kind of prioritize getting Bauer towards the end and then Springer signed with the Blue Jays. I would much rather us flip that. I'd much rather they really went after Springer and then kind of let, Bauer kind of do his own thing and go to LA. So, I'm happy with everything that's going on because at the end of the day, it is a business and you have to be smart about things because if he just threw money, let's say at Springer, Bauer, whoever else, right? And then down the line, now you're stuck with a 30-minute contract of an old center fielder and Springer, and now you don't know what to do because let's say Conforto keeps on shining. You're not going to take him out. And let's say, now you have to move him to left. Now who's going to play center field? And then it's the same thing with Bauer. You pay him $40-something million. Let's say he struggles astronomically that first year. Now you're thinking that second year, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're paying this guy $40 million, and let's say he blows up and has an 8 ERA. Not saying he's going to do that. Bauer's a very good pitcher, and he's shown that the last few seasons. But I'm happy with that because if he threw money at the wall, then all of us down the line would be like, oh, what stupid contracts? What are you thinking? And then you look back a few years and you're like, oh, we're Mets fans and we were delusional at first, and we asked for this, and Cohen answered, right? So it is a business. You have to be smart with your money, and any new, I think going into off season, it's like. You have to think about Conforto long-term, getting his contract done. Now with the Lindor, now, you're going to be paying him a bunch of money, hopefully, and getting that deal done. So, you don't want to be tied in a bunch of money because then you get stuck, and then people don't want those contracts. And now you have these old aging guys on massive deals and it just stunts the whole team, right? Because then if you down the line, when you want to pay Alonso, you don't have that. So I'm happy, at first I wanted to be delusional, but I'm happy that everything was taken into consideration and everything was, smartly done.
I feel like you realize that, Alex, and it's true. There are some people on Twitter and the sports radio callers who are personally offended Cohen's not throwing all out. But, that's just how we are as New York sports fans.
Yeah. I think that just make that all that contract mumbo jumbo just makes me so happy to have Brian Cashman at the helm. Like he really is.
Who's in silence?
I can't sing his praises enough. He finds diamonds out of nowhere. He trades for Voit. He trades for Talkman, who didn't have that great a year last year, but the year before was incredible.
But a great depth piece, though, nonetheless.
Yes, definitely.
You need depth, right? And Talkman's a good depth bat to have. So it's
definitely. But just like examples of, even turning Aaron Hicks from the Twins into an everyday switch hitting center fielder.
Yeah.
Gio
Urshela, another, just for cash
DJ LeMahieu
from Toronto.
Yeah, LeMahieu. Rocking David
LeMahieu went into this offseason wanting 5 for 125, and they waited, and everybody started to get a little antsy. Now, Yankee fans are a little impatient when their superstars are not signed. I get it. I am. But everybody was like, Cashman, you just got to pay the man. 5 for 125, yeah, that's a lot. He'd be 37 at the end of his year. But, maybe, bring it down a little bit. Cashman locks him up 6 for 78. That is – I'm flabbergasted when that comes out. And honestly, it just makes me so happy to have Brian Cashman at the helm because he's tried and true. And I can't wait for Yason Dominguez. I know we're not into the Yankees yet, but oh my goodness. The film coming out of Miami or oh my God,
Oh yes, something.
just beautiful.
We'll
The
definitely
sound,
get
it's
into
the
him.
sound. It's the sound off the bat. Like, oh man.
One question I have with the Mets, Alex. How do you feel about your owner being one of the funniest, most entertaining follows on Twitter? I mean, let me just read some of these tweets we've known his interactions. Lindor is a heck of a player and a great guy. I hope he decides to sign. Um, do you think Lindor will accept? I'm going crowdsourcing for the answer. Um, I mean, look, it's just you just laugh. That's all I can say. But obviously, there's been both the good things. It's nice that it's awesome. He's interacting with fans. He's showing like he's a human. He looks like he genuinely cares. But then, we saw when things got heated, the GameStop issues. He turned himself off. Obviously, he's definitely doing this a lot of positive times, like the joke of Boomer and Gio made up the points. Like, so when Edwin Diaz blows up a save, are you gonna be saying, "Man, that really stunk" or something? So, just wonder from a Mets fan perspective, how do you like Steve Cohen being very interactive with his fans on Twitter?
I think, like I said, I think you've nailed it. I think it's perfect. There's the good and the bad, right? It's like, okay, what like, early on, it's like, what as fans do we want to see? And it's happening. We all ask, we want the black uniforms back, right? Like
Yeah.
those retro, we love them. Those are brought back. Okay, do you guys think an old timers day would be cool? Hell yes. We want to see, Dwight back and Daryl and Keith and everyone, Ron, all of them. We would love to have all the Piazza, everyone just have a quick.
Lastings Millage.
No less. Lucas Duda, who I'm wearing, people know Lucas Duda. I would love to see him back cranking home runs lefty style in an old timers game, right? Or David Wright and Jose or whoever. So yes, like there's the good and the bad, and then like I said, there's some things that like he tweets, and it's like the Lindor, like how much should we pay him? I'm going crap. It's like yes, it's funny, but wait, like kind of maybe wait till like okay, like he signed, we can start kind of like joking a little bit, and then the news comes out like. It's like it just looks a little weird, and I know the whole GameStop thing like that wasn't a great look for him, and people were blasting him, and rightfully so. It was he was like Twitter's not nice to me, and it's like yeah, because this is everyone's looking at what's happening, like so it's good, and I'm happy. Like it shows the human side of him of engaging the fans, and I think that's what all of us wanted is just someone because like we were like pleading with the Wilpons, please do something for the last like 10 years of their ownership, and they never did something. And Cohen comes in, and it's like right away. What do you guys want to see? You want the uniforms back? We're bringing the uniforms back. You want Old Timers Day? Hell yeah, we're bringing Old Timers Day. So it's like it's awesome that he's getting those perspectives, but there's some things like I said, it's like let's keep that behind closed doors. It's because like we don't know how Lindor is feeling right now. Don't go on Twitter and be like, how much should we pay him? Because now it's like Lindor is like, what the hell, dude? Like, I'm telling you how much you should pay me. And like, you don't want like, I don't want any like you don't want the disconnect between owner and players just causes issues. So it's like some things like that just keep kind of quiet. But it is good to have an owner that has a personality that wants to be here for the fans. Just some things that are like, all right, be a little bit professional. But it's all stuff that he'll learn over time. He's just a new owner, and it's probably like a big culture shock for him of how he should conduct himself. So maybe a few years down the line, it's like completely different. He has a personality, but he keeps all that contract stuff behind closed doors and things like that. So it's great having a guy like him, and I'm super excited for the future. It's just like I said, some things are just like, all right, like at the end of the day, it's like, I don't need that. It's funny, but let's try to keep it professional.
Definitely. Just two quick final things, Alex. Who are some of the big players you're really excited to see and think will make an impact specifically for the Mets in 2021?
Obviously the key point or the key guy, that's talked about is obviously Lindor. I'm super excited to see him crank his first home run, in Citi Field. I think he's going to have a tremendous impact. I think Cookie Carrasco can have a huge impact on this team as well. I know DeGrom's our ace, and Syndergaard will be back midway through the year. But I think, with some of the young arms that we have with Peterson, who, might be the bottom end of our rotation and things like that, it's good to have a veteran like him who's been through a lot. Obviously, we all know his journey, his cancer and everything. It's just like, he's a great guy. Just to have him in the rotation and coaching these pitchers is just a great thing from top to bottom. So I think he can have an impact once he returns healthy. I'm expecting a good season from JD Davis again. I think that's someone that people are kind of not giving up on offensively, defensively. So I'm thinking with someone like Lindor coming there, who can cover a lot of ground and might be able to eke out some of his mistakes that we see. But just having a guy like Lindor to mentor Davis defensively, I think is just huge. And I'm expecting another good year from Conforto and Dom Smith. Those two showed, what they can do. And I know it was a 60-game season, but they had really good years. Dom Smith, you can consider a breakout season, and Conforto showed that he can hit both righties and lefties now, which is just, is awesome. And then lastly, and I know we talked about this a little bit, just Pete Alonso. I think if I'm going to say the one guy who can make the most impact other than Lindor, it has to be Pete Alonso entering his third year. Sophomore slump last year did not look good, but entering spring training from the games that I saw, it looked like he was hitting tall fields again. That pop was back. That confidence is back. And just having a guy like Lindor take off some of the offensive pressure that he had to go through last season, I think is going to work wonders. So I think the two big impact guys, from what I can see, is probably going to be Lindor and Alonso, because we already know DeGrom is the best pitcher in baseball. So I don't even have to specify DeGrom. I think that's all common sense at this point.
Right. And then my final question regarding the Mets before we talk about the Yankees for you, Alex, and feel free if you want to chime in as well with it, Andy, is just what are your big final initial thoughts as we head into this season that starts today at the time of this release? Just what are your big final thoughts on your Metropolitans, Alex?
I'm just hoping for an exciting year. And a lot of positivity going this year. I think there was a lot of disappointment last season. Obviously, we didn't make the play-ins, and we had the roster that should have cruised into the play-ins, and we came up short. And I think a lot of players learned from that, and I'm hoping that's what's going on this year. And with the addition of Lindor, I think it's going to be huge. For this team, both morale-wise and everything. He's a great leader, great defensive player, great offensive player as well. So I think the addition is going to really change this team. And I really am expecting big things from the Mets. If we miss the playoffs, it is a drastic disappointment. And I think a lot of people can lose their jobs if they miss the playoffs. So this roster, they should be making the playoffs. They should be contending for the division. So I'm expecting a lot as a Mets fan, and I'm hoping that, everyone shines and we have a great year. That's at the end of the day. I'm really optimistic about this year, and that's something that I haven't been these last few seasons. So I'm really hoping for a really strong season from the Mets.
All right. Do you have anything you have any thoughts on the team from Queens, Andy?
Yeah, I do. I think it is very honorable, and I love the fact that Steve Cohen wears his heart on his sleeve. I think it's great for baseball. I think, yes, obviously, it's tough when you're the first place to have such a close owner to fan relationship. And yes, obviously, maybe he shouldn't be discussing contract deals on Twitter, but I do think having more minds like Steve Cohen in the game of baseball is good for the progression.
Yeah. It's like a Mark Cuban type as an interactive owner.
That's exactly who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's not really a lot of big personality MLB owners. I really can't think of. The Stein brothers keep quiet.
No, very quiet.
A lot of the owners really do stay quiet. There's not like you said, there's not really one that comes to our head and it's like, oh yeah, he's a personality. Like I think really Cohen's kind of setting the standard, and I hope that more owners show their personalities. I think it's a good thing for baseball. I totally agree with that.
I also think it's a wonderful juxtaposition against the very clean-cut Yankee image and the Mets with, even Jeff McNeil. Jeff McNeil just screams Met to me and not Yankee.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, we need to have like how the NBA has a Cuban or like a Steve Ballmer of the Clippers who are just characters. Anyway, sure. Just another thing to add on why you need to be interesting as a whole. So having said that, talk about interesting things. Why don't we switch it up? Talk about the Bombers. New York Yankees. Oh, man. The New York Yankees. We'll start with Andy on this one. It's been quite a time, Andy, since 2017.
Yeah.
It's 3 years in a row, just absolutely heartbreaking losses. 2017, special Cinderella story. Went as far as we could get, made it to Game 7 of the ALCS. And it was a tough day for CC.
Against the team that shall not be named.
Oh yes, but we're gonna get it into
We will get to
hard
that
time.
team as well because I don't like their prospects this year.
Nope. And so 18, tough loss running into a Red Sox team that just wouldn't lose. 2019 cheaters again hit us at the buzzer. And obviously 17 with the trash can. The 2020, it was just the way I would describe it. It's just, I mean, they just outplayed us at the end. They just beat us. They
put the bat on the ball. Like they put the bat on the ball.
Oh, we did it.
Not. And we did not.
So yeah, like I said, so through these years, through these tough playoff losses year after year, have had the same core of players, the Yankees, your Judge, your Sanchez's, your Glabers, adding now Chapman to the mix, adding Chapman and now Cole. A lot of people say LeMahieu, this could be the final year to have this core because now everyone's due money at once. That's the one thing about these bombers.
Everybody needs to get paid. That that baby bomber core is on. It's on the clock. It's on the clock. So this is definitely the year for the Yankees, and I know we've said that the last couple of years, but this year, this year is the year.
What makes you say that different? What's the difference this year compared to the other ones?
I mean, our lineup the last couple of years, it hasn't changed much. It's been a 1 through 9 of absolute barn beaters. You don't want to face this lineup. It's just when in the playoffs, contact becomes so crucial, we have had our issues when it has counted. Along with that, I think the staff, which we'll get into, is far more. The word stable is not really the word I want to use, but we have a lot more options this year. And everybody seems to count out Luis Severino, who I know is coming off of a Tommy John, but even if we get him back at 80%, 85% of what he was arguably a top 5 American League pitcher before he got hurt. And I think with him not having the burden of being the ace on this roster, he can really shine. Also, Domingo Hermann coming back from his suspension. I think that he is very key to the Yankees' success this year. He had a very good year prior to that 2020 suspension. And I really hope this is the year that Jameson Taillon realizes his incredible potential.
Yeah, hitting on the rotation. So the biggest acquisitions off this offseason besides DJ was one former Cy Young Award winner, Corey Kluber's on the team.
Didn't even mention Corey.
And now we have Jameson Taillon. Why don't you talk to me and your expectations from the two big starting pitchers?
I think it's very key that they can learn and play with Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is an alpha. He is going to win every 5th day. And knowing that, having the freedom for Kluber and Taillon not to be the number one guy, which, I mean, Taillon's a very young, he's young, and he was arguably the number one guy for Pittsburgh prior to the injury. That's because the Pittsburgh team is atrocious. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, Kluber's big. Kluber pitched a Game 7 of a World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kluber's an ex-Cy Young winner. And honestly, there's something about the look. He shaves the beard, and all of a sudden he has a nice, clean look of about 17 wins on him. I really think he. I'm looking at like a 17-8 for Corey Kluber this year.
Really?
You think he's going to bounce back that much?
Yeah, I do. I think he bounces back. I think the ERA is still around 4, over probably 4.1, 4.2. But I think this Yankee team is good enough to get him over 15 wins. I really do.
And the big thing about Kluber, he's a big sinker baller. That's his signature pitch.
Lots of broken bats coming to Yankee Stadium.
Mm-hmm. And one of the huge weaknesses for the Yankees, and is the fact that the bullpen. The one pitcher you could trust, I think, is Zach Britton, and he's hurt. Yeah. He's not coming back until is it May or June? They're projecting.
It's late. Yeah, it's late because he literally just got the surgery like a couple weeks ago, so it's gonna be late.
Yeah. He's obvious. It goes without saying that Zach Britton is a very big part of the plans that the Yankees had all season, but especially in October. Hopefully, since he is going to be back, I mean, knock on wood, in a couple months, he will have time to rev up into those high leverage situations that we need. Up until then, we're gonna have to rely on Chad Green to do what he's been doing and just continue slinging fastballs, and we're gonna have to rely on Chapman to. He's been great in the regular season. He's been great.
Andy, I have to ask you, Andy, what is enough from if you want to go back to the Cubs blowing Rajay Davis game 7, 2019 giving up the home run Altuve, but he had a buzzer, I believe. Most of us believe. Then you have,
I agree with the buzzer, definitely a buzzer.
One of the worst tastes in your mouth is the fact that a player that Chapman beamed hit a series winning whole run off him.
Yeah, that's
the Chapman smile, which has been, how to tick someone off with that.
He is still a top, in my opinion, he's a top 5 reliever in the league. He really is. And he has that aura of late game situation. He will pump it. He will pump 102 right past you. He is an excellent closer. And you know what? It's just like the field goal kicker in football. When the game is on your shoulders, you practice one thing, and if you don't execute, you're the woke, not the goat. And if you do execute, you're the goat. So this year we're gonna count on the lefty to deliver.
So you will go 4 times a charm.
Gleyber Torres, though, I will say that he did deliver us Gleyber Torres. So he did deliver on one who should have a bounce back year this year.
Yeah, yep. So, as I asked Alex, who are some of the position players that you haven't mentioned already that really are excited for you? Do you feel Judge and Stanton? We know their injury history. Do you think Judge now switching up, no more lifting, all yoga, calisthenics, save with Stanton?
I love it.
Do you feel this is the year they're going to be healthy?
God, could you imagine? Like, honestly, at this point, it would be a blessing if they stayed healthy. I hope they do, but it would be a blessing, because could you just imagine? It's quite a murderer's row once you get into that Yankee lineup. First, you got to start with DJ LeMahieu, he's good for 25 home runs as it is, and a plus 300 average. He's a tough out. Then he's
clutch too.
Yeah, he is very clutch. And then you have to deal with Judge. You have to deal with Stanton. And that protection, I think awards here, Mike, obviously the key players this year, there's a couple. Gleyber Torres has to get back on track. He was absolutely electric up until last year. And you know what? I think a lot of people could say 60 games over a season isn't a true baseball season, and the law of averages would have probably evened out a bunch of statistics for some players last season. I think Pete Alonso would have had a higher average. There's things to be said for 60 games compared to 162.
Gleyber also has to improve his fielding too. He has to a lot of errors.
Yeah, big year in the field for Gleyber Torres. But and Gary Sanchez. I think Gary Sanchez, every report out of Yankee camp for the last 3 years has been that Gary Sanchez is the best natural hitter on that team. And it hasn't showed. It has not showed, but every single report has been that. So it's in there. And, he came to the Yankees as a 16-year-old, and he's been with the Yankees his entire career. I would love to see Gary Sanchez get going. I think when he's locked in, he's the best hitting catcher in baseball, with much respect to still JT Realmuto, who's very good at baseball. But Dreaky Sanchez could be that guy. Also, Clint Frazier finally getting his spot. I do, they brought back Gardner, but Clint Frazier is going to be the starter in that position. His bat speed, legendary, according to Brian Cashman. You all know how we feel about Brian Cashman. And he's a ginger. So we love that for the vibe, for the squad. But yeah, so on the position players, those are my 3 key position players for the Yankees. Because I honestly think Stanton's gonna mash. Like if Stanton,
he had a great playoff. He did have a great playoff.
He looked he was the most dangerous player on the field in the playoffs. Even though we lost that series, he was the most dangerous person in that box. And I really do think if he plays 140 games, he hits 45 to 50 home runs, like not even really with not much effort. Same
That's
with
all
Judge.
we ask.
They're just
That's all we
really,
ask.
yeah, it's all we ask is just for them to stay on the field. It's always been, again, that has been our kryptonite, has been staying on the field, whether it be Severino, whether it be Judge, whether it be Stanton. I mean, take your pick. Aaron Hicks, last year, you could take your pick with all of our pitching. It's tough. And Zach Britton again this year. But I'm just excited for baseball. And like the fact that the Yankees and the Mets are good, like what else can we do? We just get to sit and watch some history happen. And dear God, keep the injuries away. Also, one last point is that the medical staff was new last year for the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
And on average, you start seeing the result of a new medical staff the second year after they're installed. So we had a lot of injuries last year. So hopefully the medical staff
next man up
better this
again.
year. And hopefully, dear God, we can only hope.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is Gary Sanchez probably has the most to prove out of every player in the entire league. Obviously, intense criticism has gone his way. People complain about sometimes his integrity, but it seems that really stepped up. He went to do winter ball this year on his own merit.
Mm-hmm.
I think he genuinely knows how this is. Literally, he might not have, no team might want, if he is bad one more time, it's going to be tough for him to find a job.
If he's on the interstate again this year, he's not going to have a professional baseball contract. Like even with the raw power, you have to hit 240, 230 at least, and you're capable of that. He is capable of that.
And we know he has probably arguably one of the best arms throwing people down as well, but he's had his problems of pass balls and stuff that has to be intensely fixed. But I mean, we were playing Austin Roman in the playoffs last year. Yeah, you mean Kyle Higashioka?
Excuse me, Kyle Higashioka. Yeah. Exactly. Austin Roman was on Detroit last year.
Higgy started. He outright wrote the job. So
and
that had to motivate him.
But it's okay. He did a great job, by the way. Higashioka is a wonderful backup catcher.
Definitely. It seems like he'll be Cole's personal catcher. It looks like again.
Yeah, it does look like
except for opening day. And so like I asked Alex, and again, Alex, if you want to chime in as well, what are your final thoughts on the Yankees as a whole coming into this season? We know the excitement of baseball as a whole, but the final things on the Yankees as a whole.
It's key to get off to a good start. I think it's both for the Yankees and the Mets. You want to get off to a good start. You want to start on top of your division and just build the gap from there. I think the Yankees have some teams in the AL East, the Blue Jays and the Rays, that will have a lot to say about winning games this year. I think the Rays and the Jays are hungry, and I think the Yankees need to come with that Savage's fire. We don't want to, everyone knows that everyone can read any lineup, any name on that lineup, and you know what they're supposed to do. They just got to walk the walk now and be that team.
This is it. Anything you have to say about the Yankees, Alex?
No, I think everything was hit. I guess just like a quick point, I think you guys are in a good place. Obviously, you have a very strong team and a World Series contender. It's just like you said, with the injuries of Britton, it's going to be tough with having a reliable. I know Chad Green had a good season, but just to have that one reliable guy you guys can always anchor on, it's going to be, I feel like, a rotating bullpen. So it's going to be interesting. And just quickly, I think Kluber, I know his velocity is down, but he's just a good enough pitcher to make stuff work. So I think he can have a very successful bounce back season, just because, like you guys addressed, the offense that's there. If he gives up 2 or 3 runs, you guys can easily recover from that. So I'm expecting a good, hopefully a healthy and a good bounce back season from Kluber, because when he's on, it makes baseball fun to watch. Him being a Psyoung winner with his disgusting runs and pitches in Cleveland. So I'm expecting hopefully a good season with that with you guys on the Yankee end.
Amen, indeed. So hit on our New York sports teams. Why don't we talk about some of the others? And the way we're going to do it, and I mentioned before this podcast that Alex and Andy get ready for, it's the way to talk about the other teams. I mean, if you want to talk about all 32 teams, that'd be great, but
Time is short.
I got places to be, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the best way I figured we can discuss it is through the over-unders. Every single year, Vegas makes these odds on how many wins they expect an MLB team to have. They really do it to any sport. Any sport they do over-unders, but specifically in baseball, they create the odds and what they think. Usually it's a half number. So if you pick a number, like we'll say if we were going to make up a team, we say the Royals, which were 90, they were expected to win 90 games, and like they're yes, the numbers would be something like 89.5. You would win the bet if you pick 90, because if you hit 89, you technically lose the bet because that half brings you over. So that's how we decided it. And I picked you guys. We picked 3 teams each, and just a nice little explanation. We could talk about why we think that team will hit over or hit under. So why don't we start with the overs? And I'll go with my 3. Then we'll do Alex's 3, then Andy his 3, and then we'll go with the unders, and then we'll go backwards. Andy with your unders, Alex with your unders, my unders. So why don't we start it off with some over unders? All right. So as I explained, so this is what I thought with the overs. I picked 2 teams. I picked 3 teams. My first team, the San Diego Padres, that have arguably been turned into one of baseball's most popular teams. Truly, 5 years ago, that they were a dog shit team. I mean, who really was their most popular player?
Will Myers.
Yeah, Will Myers, who's still on the team. So their number is 94.5. I actually picked them over. The reason why, I think they had some insane transactions, both of the trade deadline for getting an ace, or not an ace, but a really good pitcher of Mike Clevenger, the deadline. This offseason, they really stepped up. You got Blake Snell, who pitched the game of his life at Game 6. You have Yu Darvish. You also have 2 players from their system, Chris Paddock. He became a rookie sensation in 2019 and transitioned well the next season. They have something called Paddock Day over in San Diego. And you also have who they expect, Dinsel Lamet, who's been making some noise as well. And on top of these pitchers, you have players again, Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer, Tommy Pham. And then they have this guy, Ha-Sung Kim, who's this infielder who was a sensation Korea, who they picked up. So I think just all these same transactions and all the and bouncing off the momentum they've been having, I think they'll actually be over that 94.5 number. You guys have any mentions regarding the Padres?
They actually were one of my teams, so I guess.
All right, cool. We'll wait for that. We'll wait for
Okay.
you to explain there with that. But we'll talk about when we get to Alex, we'll mention any of the Padres, and we'll go with the Padre talk there. But yeah, that's what I think. My other over, I said the Blue Jays, 86.5. I actually picked the over. Did any of you guys pick the Blue Jays?
I picked the Blue Jays
I
for
picked the
over.
Blue Jays as well.
Okay, all over on this one.
Yeah.
I did pick the over.
So let's we'll put this as the Blue Jay section here. So over 86.5. Why don't we then? I'll just the reason why I picked the 86.5. I actually thought the number was kind of low. I think they're the biggest threat against the Yankees to win the East. I mean, that core you originally had from Vlad Jr., Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, ironically, all their dads were great players in the 90s. And now they added George Springer to the mix and Marcus Semien.
Yeah.
Going to be insane. They have a very underrated pitching staff as well. Hyun-Jin Ryu could be a legit ace. I think he's the most underrated ace.
He's definitely an ace.
Oh, yeah. And you add Robbie Ray, and then you have Kirby Yates to the bullpen. And their big prospect, Nate Pearson, might be making some noise. Alex's old friend, Steven Matz, has joined them, and Tanner Roark, who had promise when they were on their respective teams, now trying to revitalize their career at Toronto. I think this team is legit. They high-key make me nervous, and Blue Jays are going to be something else. Alex, what do you think about the Blue Jays?
Similar to you, pretty much everything. They're just so young, and there's just so much natural raw talent. I think Bo Bichette's in. I know we've seen him have like really good seasons, but he's in for a breakout / MVP year, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I love Bo Bichette. I think he's the guy to watch out for AL MVP. Just, hits off field, has that pop. He's just such an exciting player to watch. And just adding the veterans, adding Springer to that, just, you just think all the different lineups you can have, they're just consistent across the board. Teoscar Hernandez is one of the most underrated outfielders in my eyes. He's a beast. So just that whole lineup top to bottom. And like you said, the rotation, Ryu, I think, like you said, is probably one of the most underrated starters in baseball. Almost won a Cy Young. So he's there. And like you said, there's a lot of guys there that have the talent to, have good years. And I know Steven Matz, he had some success, but usually some failures with the Mets. Maybe he turns it on, has a second, start here with Toronto. So it's just all around. I think there's such a well-rounded team that if they just stay healthy, they like you said, I think they really are a legitimate threat to the Yankees for winning the East. So that's why I had them as my over.
Cool. What do you have to add on to Andy?
Yeah, Yankee killer Gurriel, baby. He's just a Yankee killer, and he's a good hitter. I pretty much, you guys were very comprehensive on the Blue Jays. I just think the level of maturity for those young bucks, the 90s babies, I think they're going to step into their own. I don't see I'll be very excited if Bo Bichette wins the MVP, because that means he's had a crazy year.
Yeah.
If he does that 10 extra base hits in 6 games that he was on pace for, like when he just came up, he'll be on that list. But yeah, I think 86.5 is low. I think they definitely win 87 games. I think Robbie Ray has somewhat of a bounce back season. I like his stuff. He has a high spin rate on his curveball. And yeah, again, another road to redemption for Steven Matz should be good. And Pearson, it's Pearson, right?
Yeah.
Nate Pearson.
Yeah.
He'll be exciting to watch. I mean, the guy comes and throws like 102. 102.
Yeah, it's like 102, and his slider is like upper tier
95.
It's something wild like that. Yeah.
Listen, Blue Jays are going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. I can't think of their catcher, but aside from that, their entire lineup is arguable. I mean, you got the Dodgers, the Yankees. This Blue Jays lineup could be my third pick. Padres.
I think one of the Blue Jays catchers.
But honestly, this Blue Jays, it's right up there. It's
Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Alejandro Kirk might be their guy. I don't know. I know Danny Jansen was mainly their guy, but Kirk might step
Jansen
in.
started last year, but I don't know if Kirk has overtaken him yet. We'll see. Yeah. But I'm saying aside from that catcher position, they are stacked. So if that pitching holds up, and again, that's a big if for a bunch of teams. If that pitching holds up, they'll be well on their way to 87 wins, I believe.
Tell me about it. So my last over I picked the Nationals over 84.5. Did any of you guys pick the Nationals? All right. So I picked the Nationals. They had, after probably the scrappiest team to ever win a World Series in 2019. No one saw that coming. Go over them, though. But they fall flat on their face in 2020. Bad. And then, so with that, and after winning the World Series, they probably had one of the best off seasons themselves. I mean, on top of the big 3 pitching with Scherzer, Corbett, Strasburg, you're adding in, though I understand he's older, you still have a solid another lefty in there, and John Lester, who maybe could give you 1 or 2 more final years in there. Maybe he starts a game 4 or something, and he could make some noise in there. They arguably got the best reliever in baseball on the offseason this year, Brad Hand. Sorry, Alex, I know Mets wanted him, but that didn't fit together because he wanted to be the closer, and I think they weren't sure about it. But anyways, you got Brad Hand to the bullpen, and he's automatic. He really is. So watch out there. And then you add also to this team that has Josh Harrison, Juan Soto, Trey Turner. You have Kyle Schwarber, who still has a beautiful swing and a short-ported. I know the Nationals have more of a pitcher's park, but they have one of the shorter porches to get that whole run. I think that's going to match with the swing. And then you have Josh Bell, finally got himself out of Pittsburgh. He's just literally looks like a beast. And I think that 84.5 number is going to surprise people. I really think the Nationals could be another threat of the NL East. Honestly, any team in the NL East can win it. But and we'll talk about that when we pick our division winners. But I think the Nationals are going to make some noise. Any comments regarding the Nats?
No, I think you hit it all.
Yeah, no, I didn't do much. I think listen, if their pitching trio holds up, that team could beat any team in a postseason series.
Yeah, definitely.
Like seriously, if they go 3 starting pitchers in a postseason series, they got
Cool.
3 pretty good ones.
Exactly. So, Alex, now we'll go with your unders. Why don't we start off with the one we had in common, the Padres? What do you think about this Padre team?
Oh, the overs, right? So sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, we're doing
overs. Yeah, no, similar to you. I think just the moves that they made in the offseason, just literally might have one of the best, if not the best rotation in baseball. And then you just add, Tatis and all the guys, just Fernando in himself is unbelievable.
Mhm.
So just Machado and Tatis having those 2 great years, Hosmer kind of looked back to his old ways, last season as well. Tommy Pham is like a beloved guy over there already. Trent Grisham, all these guys that they have, they're just such a really good top to bottom team. So I think, like just the rotation in and of itself, they're going to definitely, I feel, win more than 94, which is why I had them, as one of my over teams as well.
Yeah, did you hear that story about? I think Tommy Pham got stabbed at a strip club in the offseason.
Yeah,
but it came out that he was in such good shape that it didn't make internal damage that a more overweight person. Like they literally said, if you were overweight, you would have died.
yeah.
So that's a flex, huh?
Yeah, it's ultimate flex. I got stabbed, but I'm so jacked that it didn't even bother me.
Yeah.
I'm just casually Thor.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what are your 2 other overs, Alex?
Just looking over everything. I know we talked the Blue Jays, so those were the 2. The one that I had, and I don't know why I just gravitated to it, but I had the Miami Marlins over 71.5. Just seems like a low number from what they did last year. And just with some of the additions that they have, I know Starling Marte is like their big addition that they had, but just that team is young and they just, with the season they had with the COVID and missing, like 2 weeks pretty much,
right,
on a run to make the postseason, like they're young. They now have that playoff experience. They're pretty much the roster's coming back. They added a few extra bats. I really like them, and their pitching is young as well. So, I know a lot of people are looking at Sixto. I know he's down at the training site right now, but, if Sixto comes up, he can be a legitimate, rookie of the year contender. So, just the pitchers showed flashes, and if they can just continue that next year or going into this season, I think that they could be a team to look out for, which is why I had them over at the 71.5.
Yeah, I also had the Miami Marlins over 71.5. Again, I think they're hungry, just as Alex brought up. I think they have that playoff experience. I think Sixto will be up and making a difference very soon. I think Adam Duvall is actually a pretty fun signing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the same team as last year that made the playoffs pretty much. And they just, I think they disrespected the Miami Marlins with 71.5.
Definitely. So with that too, Andy, who are your 2 other over teams?
So we had the Blue Jays. We had the Blue Jays at over 86.5 as well. But my other over was the Cardinals. I really like the addition of Nolan Arenado.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Hicks is going to take another step forward this year and be truly almost, he's practically unhittable now, but I think he's going to take another step forward, and that's going to be very dangerous for anyone playing the Cardinals. They also get the opportunity, and we'll get into unders later, but they get the opportunity to feast on the Pirates, who are going to be absolutely trash this season. And that is one of my unders. That Pirates 59.5 is a big under for me.
Even lower, huh?
Oh yeah. There's no way that team wins 60 games. We could talk about that in a second.
Yep.
But I really just love the culture of the Cardinals. They always are in contention. They have Wainwright and Yachty coming back for their 17th straight year as teammates. Damn, I think that's amazing.
That's dedication.
That's dedication.
Except Alex doesn't like them, but
yeah,
you know why.
Yeah, that's fair. But I love the corner infield tandem of Goldschmidt and Arenado. And I think it's going to be fun to see Arenado in a big market.
All right. Cool. So with that, why don't we hop to the unders? We'll start with Andy. So why don't we hit that? Tell us your first under. Tell us about the Pirates and then the other two after that.
Yeah,
So
man.
you really think they're gonna be so bad? Not even 60 wins.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they truly. The farm system's deep. Let's start with the positive. They have a bunch of talent that obviously, they traded Jameson Taillon, they traded Joe Musgrove, they traded Josh Bell. They cleaned house. And you know what? PNC Park is a wonderful place to be. It's very scenic, but I would not be going to Pittsburgh Pirates fans too often, aside from going to the park. I just think they do not have a chance. I really think they could win under 50 games this year compared to 60. So I think Vegas was pretty nice with 59.5. My second under is the Houston Astros at 87.5.
Really?
I think, I honestly think that Bregman and Altuve could still be on. They did not have a good year last year. Listen, I know there's something to be said for 60 games, but they did not have a good year last year. And the Astros do not have Justin Verlander to rely on. They have no George Springer, who is really a good cog in that machine. With Zach Greinke as an ace, if Zach Greinke's twirling around a 4.00, 4.2 ERA, which he was, that's not going to be good enough to get into the playoffs, I don't think. Because obviously the A's are a very good team. And, I think there's something to be said about the Los Angeles Angels and Mike Trout being the best player in the world. I think the Angels give the Astros a run for their money for that second wild card position. So I do have that Astros under at 87.5.
All right. So Astros, Pirates, and who's that final team?
It's going to be the Cleveland Indians, kind of the same deal as the Astros. I think they went on an absolute fire sale. They got rid of Lindor. They got rid of Carrasco. They got rid of Clevenger. Yeah. I mean, and they're 81.5 wins for this team. Seems like quite the stretch. Shane Bieber still there, great arm. I'm forgetting another top line pitcher. Zach Plesac, thank you very much. Great arms. But yeah, I don't see a hunger in Cleveland this year. I think it's a real transitional year, and I think they will win under 80 games.
All right. I hear you on all those great points, Alex. Let's talk about your unders. Where can we start with you?
I'm just like trying. I have some. So to start with me, I think I'm gonna go with the Kansas City Royals at 73.5. I think they're going to be under. I know, they made some offseason acquisitions and Benintendi and all that stuff, but I still think that they're not a great all-around team. They have very decent individual players, they're just not a big roster. I know 73 doesn't sound like a lot, but I think they're going to be under that number. I just don't. Like I said, I don't think they're a good enough roster to get 73. Do I think they're going to be Pirates bad? No. But I think the 73 number to me was just a little bit too high for a team like that. They can exceed expectations, but just from what I saw and looking at the roster, like I said, more kind of individual talent than overall team talent. So that's why I picked them as one of my teams to be under that.
Cool. What's another one?
Another one that I saw is shockingly to me the Houston Astros at 87.5. I'm sorry, I know I had to go in for a second. I don't know if they were brought up. They're under 87. I know we kind of bashed the Astros who they are, but I think just some of the departures that they had this offseason with George Springer being the main guy leaving. And we just saw like Altuve regress and everything like that. I love it. I just don't think them being like a highly touted team as they used to be is there. So that's why I have them. They could sneak in and be a playoff team, but I think the number that they have, around 87 kind of being, if you look at the Twins, they're in between the Twins and the Athletics as teams. I think both those teams are better overall. So that's why I kind of think they might be under that number. Shockingly, I think they might be having a year that, is not great, to the Astros standards, if you will, just because of some of the departures and just everything that's got on these last few years.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And Andy had similar thoughts too with that. I also picked under with the Astros, and you won't see me feel bad. Yeah, I mean, as any of the Yankees or any baseball fans, really. So
I do think they get some of the boos. Like, I do think fans will let them have it.
Yeah, fans are going to let them because we had a whole year where we couldn't let them have it. So I think 100%. They're really going to let them have it this year.
Yeah, they're coming they're coming to town in May, at least for the Yankees. So, oh man,
that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta figure out a way to get there. Seriously, I was at the last Yankee game with people. I was at Game 5 of the ALCS. So last time the people were there was against them, and I never felt so. Like I said, my whole life I hated the Red Sox, and there really is a team that is just as hated with them forever as a whole entire franchise. Oh man, so.
It's actually crazy. Mm-hmm. I never thought I'd hate a team like I hated the Red Sox.
Yeah, seriously. So, yeah, those are Alex's three other great solid choices there. And for my unders, I had a lot of fun writing this. It was really easy to write. So, first, we'll start with the Angels. I actually think the Angels are going to be under 83.5.
Oh,
basically, despite good manager, like, where is the bullpen going? Andrew Heaney, Dylan Bundy, Jose Quintana. I mean, they're good, but they don't have like that badass ace that I think a team really needs. And with the exception,
Shohei.
Yeah, Shohei Ohtani, he could be the solid one. Whether they're choosing him to, I know it's gonna be one or the other. He has been playing both sides of the ball, but I don't know if they made a decision yet of which one he's gonna do, but
he wants to do both.
Yeah,
he does.
Yeah, he wants to try to do both this year. So we'll see. I mean, if he can stay healthy.
Again,
very excited to watch him.
Super cool,
and for baseball's sake too, for popularity, just let it go. If he understands what's involved, he's had Tommy John surgery. Let him do it.
Played professionally as both.
Yeah,
overseas, he's played professionally as a pitcher and a hitter.
So, and the other just things, I think they have the Angels have a weird identity crisis. You have a team that looks like a rebuilding team, but has some veterans thrown in there. When you have Pujols in his fire of his contract, he's definitely retiring after this year. He's not going to be starting, but you have that presence. You do have Rendon coming back. Rendon, Trout, obviously still forced reacting with Justin Upton here or there. I mean, Jose Iglesias is a good addition. I mean, I just honestly just don't see where this team can compete, and especially the rise of the A's lately. I think that the A's are going to have their year. We're going to talk about that more, but I just don't see them having much success. They fell flat last year, but I think
the Angels are better. You think the Angels are worse than the Astros this year?
Yeah, on paper, I think they're worse than the Astros because, again, so many players that still haven't had potential yet with those veterans in. I just think it's a hard identity crisis at that point. But, who knows what could happen. I prefer that the Angels are better than the Astros, but it's always going to be fun. So my other unders and they haven't been mentioned. Oh, this is going to be great. The Dodgers. Now, I'm saying this number because this is an absurd number. The Dodgers at 102.5. You need to win 103 games. That's a lot. That is a lot. I'm only saying that I just see them more of a 90-win team. I do think they're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. But, the only real big addition was Bauer. You did bring back Justin Turner as well. But, you do lose Jock Peterson and Kiki Hernandez. But you do have Bauer, which a lot of people think all those extra wins he's going to bring will make that much of a difference. Plus, you have that rotation with Kershaw, Walker Buehler, Dustin May, I think is going to be better than what people think as well. And obviously Mookie's still there and Belly. So that team, I think is a deep team, but I don't think it's over 103 wins. And that's, if you're gonna bet that, you gotta really hope that they can't. You gotta win every single series, 2 out of 3 with many sweeps. I just think that's a number that's a daunting number at 103 to
It's
win
a
the
big
bet.
number, but that is a very good ball club.
Oh yeah, no question. And
Yeah.
I do think they're going to be fighting with the Padres for the West. I just personally don't see him as a over 100 win team. And then my favorite under, the Red Sox, under 80.5. Man, see the Red Sox just full. That team is just shooting themselves in the foot. I love every single segment with it, even though they did get a big GM addition. But like, where do we start, man? Who the team is just imploding. No more Mookie. You lost Bendy. You lost Jackie Bradley Jr. You didn't really get a big replacement besides JD Martinez, who I think is on the back end of his career. Who's like the big bat in the lineup next to what? Rafael Devers, that he's been okay. Who is the ace? You're not having there's no Chris Sale, no Erod till the end. I think Evaldi, Garrett Richardson.
Yeah, I guess it's Evaldi.
Yeah, it's just like this team looks awful. They don't have really any big names on that team now, and I love it. I hope they genuinely stay this way forever. So
it does bring us joy to see Boston hurt.
Absolutely. I know Alex also has his love for the Red Sox, but I hate him.
But I hate them. So that's the quote of the night.
But I love Alex, so that's most important. And so with that, any other comments regarding these teams, over-unders, or stuff like that?
No. I think all of us had good points, and we had all of them. Pretty much, it's kind of crazy that we all had similar answers and similar teams picked. So
yeah, exactly. So I think it just shows how the teams, they're definitely, if we're breaking it into tiers, there definitely is, the lower tier, your Padres, your Rockies. So not Padres, your Rockies, your Royals, your Pirates. Then you have the middle tiers, all the teams try to figure out themselves. At that top tier that's left, the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Padres, White Sox. It's just an interesting time. It's easy. It's kind of like the NBA before, like when it was Warriors and Heat every year. Sorry, Warriors and Cavs every year. I feel like the NBA is kind of that. I feel like the MLB is in that era right now, where you have you could tell who's going to be playing. It's just who's a battle to the playoffs at this point. So
yeah,
be good. So switching from over-unders, while we talk about some player awards right away, I asked you guys to pick your who you think will win the MVPs in both leagues, Rookie of the Years, and the Cy Young Award winners, as well as a Comeback Player of the Year. Why don't we start off with Alex first? Let's start with the MVPs. Alex, who's winning the MVP in the National League and American League?
National League, I am going with Juan Soto. I think he's going to have a fantastic season. He's been a guy I've been looking at, obviously being a Mets fan these last few years, of him crushing baseballs against us. And just seeing what he did last year, I think he's going to continue off on that. I know he started off kind of injured last year, and then he really turned it on late end. So he's a guy to look out for. Could be a guy who bats for 300 and hits 35 plus home runs. So that's why swing. I think, he has a beautiful swing. I think that's why he's my NL MVP. AL, I know I mentioned it before. I don't know if I'm going to lock in. My dark horse is Bo Bichette for AL MVP. Like I said, just hits all fields, everything like that. But I can't deny Mike Trout, just best player in baseball. So, to me, he's most likely the front runner to win MVP literally every year. So I'm going to probably lock in. I'll say Mike Trout, AL MVP. But I'm telling you guys, you heard it here first. Dark horse candidate, Bo Bichette, AL MVP.
Got you on camera.
I don't hate it.
So, while we go with that, now it's Andy's turn. What do you say, AL and ML MVP?
I think Alex brings up a great point. If we're talking about the AL and we're talking about every Trout. He's the best player in the game right now. But aside from Trout, I love him. I think Giancarlo Stanton, if he stays healthy, could hit 50 home runs and be the league MVP. I really do. I think the Yankees have a Obviously, they're a huge market. There's going to be, I think being in a big market is big for the MVP, except when you're Mike Trout and you just win because you're just that much, you have a 400 on base percentage. I like Nolan Arenado this year in the National League. I think his numbers translate to St. Louis. He gets rid of that stigma of only hits in Colorado, and his numbers are Colorado heavy. I think he comes through. Well, yeah, and I like the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals 86.5 over, and I think they just have good culture and a winning mentality.
Definitely. Historically, I mean, it'd be so much fun to see that classic Yankees Cardinals matchup and see like them play as a team. So it's remember the Cardinals really scrappy themselves. Really, they made a couple NLCS appearances over the past few years. Maybe this is finally the time they go over. So, and who I think for the MVP, I said Fernando Tatis is winning the MVP. That guy's on his way to be the true face of the game, like Derek Jeter face, like the way he upholds himself again, because he is a Latin player and why we need to emphasize the Latin player more. He obviously could start that trend even more so. I mean, he's a true 5-tool player. That guy can't be stopped. And I think it'll come together. And it's going to be weird. This will be his first, I believe it'll be his first full season. And he's already been in the league 3 years with that extension and everything. Got called up in the middle of the year in 19 and became a star there. Obviously, different 60-game season. And now I think this will finally play in a full season will show how damn good he is. And I'm going to pick my AL MVP as a silly one. Well, no, it's not silly, but it's definitely a biased one. I'm going to go with Aaron Judge. I think he played when he did play a full season. People thought he was going to be an AL MVP / Rookie of the Year player. So so much to prove. Finally changing things up, changing his teeth. I think it could come together and honestly take the throne as the face of baseball. I think it's Tatis is on the way for it. I think it has to be Judge take it once and for all. See more commercials and he could help bring the trend again. So why don't we go with the Cy Youngs? And we'll go with Alice again. Who do you believe is the Cy Young Award winners for both leagues?
It's always tough because there's so many good pitchers for both. I think the obvious one for the AL is Garrett Cole. I think he's just going to continue his dominance in the AL. I know seeing some of these favorites and stuff, he's the odds-on favorite to win the Cy Young. So I'm going to go Garrett Cole just because, he showed how good of a pitcher he is and now, the pressure of New York didn't really get to him. And then obviously I think all of you guys will know my answer for the NL. This is completely biased, obviously, and I'll be honest that this is biased. I am going with Jacob deGrom, the best pitcher in baseball. If he got a few more wins last season, he probably would have won, another consecutive Cy Young, but Trevor Bauer took that from him. No bias to him. So I think he comes back with a vengeance, obviously shows that he should have continued his streak of Cy Youngs, and I think he'll claim it again in the NL.
All right. What do you believe is going to be the case, Andy?
I mean, it's hard to bet against Cole and deGrom. They've proven it year after year that they are a cut above, that they are always going to be in that conversation because they have that pedigree and they have that mentality. And truthfully, if you look at the stats, if you ask the players, it really is a 1A, 1B situation. So I think those are definitely the safe bets, and that's who I would be putting my money on if I was going to Vegas and to bet on the Cy Young Award.
Yeah, we all have the same answer. DeCole. I actually said DeCole. DeGrom and DeCole. DeGrom and Garrett Cole will be winning the Cy Youngs. It's never been done before. Never been a Yankee and Met winning the Cy Young. And let's be real. These two pitchers are intimidating. They throw hard. They know how to pitch in the big game. They've both pitched in the World Series already. They both pitched well in the World Series. Garrett Cole pitched well in his last playoff outing. The one playoff outing for the Yankees, he did exactly what we paid him for. It's been a while for DeGrom to get back in the playoffs, but I think he'll show why he's legit. So, yes, it's biased, but it's true. It's going to be Garrett Cole, Jacob DeGrom, New York's finest, being on top of the pitching world. So this is going to be interesting. I'm going to start with Andy in this one. I wasn't necessarily, I wasn't thinking that at first, but you did make a great point. Is what we're going to do for the rookie of the years, with some big prospects coming in and a lot of rookies that technically started last year, but because of the rules, they're now getting an extra year of eligibility. Like,
Right.
Arozarena, for instance, he became a star last year, and he's technically a rookie this year. So,
Arozarena, I mean, you can name countless.
Exactly.
There's so many people on the exception.
Mm-hmm. So, with this great idea, Andy, why don't you introduce us to start off? Who's going to be winning the Rookie of the Year in both leagues?
I do have Randy Arozarena just continuing to dominate Major League pitching this year. He proved it all last year and throughout the playoff. I mean, mainly throughout the playoffs. That he came ready to play. They compared him to the Cuban Mookie Betts. That was what Kevin Cash called him, and hopefully he's not that, because we got rid of Mookie Betts in the AL East. I don't want another one around unless he is playing in pinstripes. So I do think Randy Arozarena is going to continue his just mashing of Major League pitching. And I'm mad at myself because I wrote down the first name and I can't even. DeBrian on the Padres. Funny enough, he's on the Padres.
Mm-hmm.
DeBrian.
On the Padres or the Pirates?
Pirates.
Ke'Bryan Hayes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely electric. I love what I'm seeing, and he's going to be the only exciting thing to watch about the Pirates all year. Really, it's going to be brutal.
Finally be the one.
Park is beautiful.
Yes, and one thing, Andy, that we forgot to mention the Yankee portion, but you can. I saw the excitement in your eyes when you mentioned Jason Dominguez. Just talk to us about the big Yankee prospect and his extreme expectations and who he's.
Well, he's called the Martian, and he's been literally referred to as the next Mickey Mantle, which is incredibly high praise. He's a switch hitting dynamo, 18-year-old. I think he's now. I think he was, 18 years old. He's built like a 35-year-old, and the sounds that are coming out of his bat from spring training are just not spring training, the private videos are just they left my mouth on the floor. I'm so excited. And I know, like, we need to trade for a pitcher. It's always the Yankees thing, trade for a pitcher, but he's off limits. I want to see him in pinstripes. I want him to be a career Yankee. Hassan Dominguez, 5-tool, 80 grade, just incredible.
Badass.
Incredible prospect.
I've heard people say Babe Ruth. I've heard people use the words Babe Ruth and Trout.
Crazy. That's a crazy comparison, but hopefully he's Hercules, because that's what he's built up to be right now.
Yeah, and the other one, and only because obviously if he played a full MLB career, I think he would have been one of the greatest, is Bo Jackson, and people compared him to that. Obviously, he was major in the NFL.
That kind of athleticism, and he plays center field. I mean, he's the prototypical ball player. I think he's like 5'11", 230 or 2. Just very exciting.
There was this guy who said that he was able to live long. Well, the way he was born, he was able to see Babe Ruth play. Was also saw Bo Jackson in his elder state. He said they had the same bat sound, and like I said, this guy Dominguez is compared to Bo Jackson. So obviously, if you want to put them all together, who knows what we have here? So exciting times is that. Now we're transitioning it off to Alex. Who do you think is winning the Rookie of the Year?
It's just there's so many good rookies. I love Ke'Bryan Hayes. I think that was a really solid pick. I think he can do a lot. for the Pirates, and you will probably, like you said, make the Pirates so excited. So I like him. I'm actually going to go with Dylan Carlson of the Cardinals. I think he's going to have a really good year. Like I said, now that they have Arenado again, takes a little pressure off of the limelight, spotlight being all on this huge prospect and Dylan Carlson. So I think with that and having the mentors of Goldschmidt and Arenado in his ear and a lot of these guys who have been, big time prospects, I think it really only help him. So I have Dylan Carlson as my rookie of the year.
Nice.
Great. And you had Dylan Carlson, and then you had Brian Hayes. So I also picked Brian Hayes after his insane September, 5 home runs, 7 doubles, 2 triples. And people say he's like Willie Mays out there with his athleticism. And like you said, the Pirates were literally, they're used to having no fans in the stands anyways. But now at least you might have someone who gives them hope in the future again. Because historically, the Pirates are a classic franchise. They were in the very first World Series. And with the exception of that 1 year, 2011, like it was like 2012, 2013 when they made it.
Yeah, McCutchen.
McCutchen and like Russell Martin led them.
Yeah.
That's it. They've been striving. They've been killing for one, and they haven't won since 79. So now you're hitting 5 decades. So they haven't been relevant. So maybe this is the one. And then my AL Rookie of the Year, I actually picked Andrew Vaughan, looks like he's going to be playing first for the White Sox, and the Braves going to be going to the DH. He swing is like a Trout type figure. He's less brolic, just destroys bat on the ball. Obviously, with the team on the rise like the White Sox have been, I think he's going to be a major aspect for the White Sox. And last player award, who do we think is going to be the comeback player of the year? I'll start with this one. I think Aaron Judge again, because of just how much potential this guy has, and it's do or die now for him. He's also an older. Despite he's older for his age. Like he's about 28 years old. He's only played for 4 full seasons, but not that there's anything wrong with it. And I think this is his way to finally show that he is the best for a reason. He didn't have a fluky rookie season and really good other seasons, but kept getting hurt. It seems like he's really revamped. His stance is completely different, if you've noticed, and not completely different, but much different than in years past. I think that next to Sanchez has the most approved for the sake of pride and trying to make the team, because even if Judge slubs, people still want him. He's an attractive figure to play for and watch. I think that Judge is going to be, earning his stripes and being closer to earn his pinstripes once and for all. So, Andy, who do you think is making a huge comeback here?
I chose 2 New York boys. I didn't choose Judge. I chose Giancarlo because I think a healthy Giancarlo Stanton is. I mean, he was NL MVP in 2018. Or 2017, 18.
Yeah, 18.
And he just has that, again, it's that sound off the bat that's really special. And I think Pete Alonso has a nice bounce back year. I think he's definitely capable of bringing that average up and getting those home run numbers back to where they were in his rookie season. I truly believe he will turn it around.
I can agree. What would you have to say, Alex? Who's making the comeback?
I went more with injuries and stories like that, people who opted out. I think for the AL, if everyone knows the story of Trey Mancini fighting cancer and obviously overcoming it and missed a lot of last year. He had some good moments in spring training, and I love Trey Mancini. He's a great guy and everything he's went through. So I picked him for my AL comeback player of the year. Like I said, I kind of went more on the injury-based, opt-out kind of option. NL, this one's a little weird. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I play a lot of MLB The Show and I love his swing for catcher. But Buster Posey, who opted out last season with the birth of his daughter, his twins, with COVID going on, so he opted out. I know a lot of people are kind of forgot about him because he struggled the last few seasons, but I think having that year off, he comes back refreshed, ready to go, charged up. So that's why I have him for the NL for comeback player of the year.
Nice.
Great pick. And I forgot to mention my NL one. So I pick the guy who survived his attempted murder, Thomas Pham. Like, he really was an important piece for the Rays. And now adding him to the mix and huge contributor to the Padres making a deep run. I think now that he could be a humongous star on now mainstream, being on top of the Tatis trade. He has an amazing arm. Like I said, great power hitter, very fast. I think this guy is just an amazing athlete in general. And I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with and make his strides as the comeback player of the year. So, last but not least, while we talk about who we think is winning the divisions and the way we set this up, I figured again we'll start with Alex, and just right off the bat, just say who you think is gonna. We'll start with the AL, and then we'll put it to the way where you pick a pennant winner. Then we'll go to the NL, pick the pennant winner, and then our final segment is obviously picking who's winning it all. So Alex, why don't we start with Alex, why don't we just start with quickly who you think is gonna win the AL? You could just name the teams right off the bat, and then we could do the same, Andy, and then me. We'll just name the teams. We've explained them as much as we can already. So just name me your division winners. Both. We'll just start with AL and NL instead, and then just pick your winner from there.
Okay, so my division leader for the AL East will be the Yankees. We've obviously talked about them in great detail, so everyone knows why I picked them. AL Central, I'm going to go with the Twins. They've just been consistent in the AL Central. AL Central is not that strong. I know a lot of people are going to pick the White Sox, but I still like the Twins, so I'm going with the Twins there. AL West, I think I'm going Oakland. They've just been so consistent these last few seasons, just dominating the AL West or battling for the AL West with the Astros. Like I said, I don't think the Astros taking a dip, and I just like the Athletics as a team overall, so I'm going to go with them for the AL West. For the National League, I'm going to be biased here, obviously, but with the Mets additions, I'm going to go with the NL East and the Mets winning the division there. Central was really tough because there's not a lot of, obviously it's going to probably be mixed, and there's probably going to be a weird record team that sneaks in. But I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Addition of Nolan Arenado, I think he has a bounce back year. I think that the team as a whole, they can be really, really successful. And for the NL West, I'm obviously it's really tough between the Dodgers and the Padres, but the Dodgers just won the World Series. I have them winning the NL West.
Cool. And do you have the two wild card teams who you think will make it?
Wild card teams, I will go with. I'm gonna go for for the AL wild card. I'm gonna go with the Astros. I think they're gonna sneak in as a wild card team. And I'm gonna go with the Rays as the other wild card there.
Great.
So yeah, and then the NL, just real quick, my wild cards. I'm gonna go with the Braves, and I'm gonna go with the Padres if that works. I don't know. I'm trying to think of standings in playoffs when wild cards and everything works. It all scrambled and doing this quickly. So those are
all good.
Teams sneaking in or just being the playoffs.
And out of those bunch, who do you think is winning the pennant in the AL and NL, and who do you think is going to win it all?
Oh, I don't want to be biased. I got to kind of be a realist. I'll go with the Yankees finally winning the pennant, getting themselves into the World Series. It's been long overdue, as you guys as fans. And then the NL, I hope it's a Mets, Dodgers, NLCS, good battle, Game 7. But just with Mookie and that firepower and that pitching, I can't deny them. So I'll go Yankees, Dodgers, and I'll go this is going to be tough. I'll go Yankees in 6 for the World Series.
All right, Yankees, Dodgers, Yankees in 6. Great. So, Andy, can you name us your division winners, your wild card winners, and who's going to win both pennants and who's going to win it all?
I got you, brother. I am also selecting the New York Yankees as the AL East winner. I believe that the Chicago White Sox. I do like the pick of the Twins. The Twins are very consistently a very good team, but I do think the Chicago White Sox, their lineup is arguably a top 3 lineup in the very arguably, but a top 3 lineup in the league. And the Oakland A's, they'll run the West. My wild card teams here are the Toronto Blue Jays, and I think Mike Trout and the Angels sneak past the Astros and lock up that other wild card position just to get, unfortunately, probably beaten by the A's in the first round. Anyway, in the NL East, I have the Atlanta Braves winning the division. I have the Cardinals in the Central and the Dodgers in the West, all front runners, all blue chip prospects and players. For the wild cards, I have the Padres and the Mets definitely getting into the playoffs. I like what they've been doing. For my AL pennant, again, this may be a little biased, but I do think the Yankees have the deepest roster in the American League currently. I think the pitching will hold up, and we will meet the LA Dodgers. And I like 6. I like the Yankees in 6. I think 6 is the good number.
Wow, man. Exciting on all fronts. So great. We'll put that Yankees at 6 over the Dodgers for Andy. And then for me. So the way I broke it down, American League East, Yankees are winning it all. There's no question. The Central with the White Sox on the rise, they're going to be the ones who are taking over the Twins. I actually, unfortunately, as I said, on paper, the Astros are better. I do think in a weak division, I do think that they are psych. Nope, definitely not giving the Astros credit. I think the Oakland Athletics are going to finally win the division once and for all. I mean, you watch their create great. You watch what they have great pitching. They have maybe Jed Lowry will be finally coming back.
Oh God!
But I think Oakland is winning it, and then I do believe that the AL wild card is going to go to the Twins, and they're going to go to the Blue Jays. For the National League, Mets are winning it in a very tight division where they could all win. I think the NL East is going to be won by the Mets. I believe the Cardinals are also winning the Central. I mean, when you have that, like you said, Andy, the most attractive hot corners with Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado to start, and then you have people like Flaherty leading the way in the pitching staff. What's there not to like? And then Dodgers, even though I do think it's going to be like one of the last, it's like going to go down to the end between the Padres and Dodgers. I'm not sure if they're playing the final series against each other in the final homestand for one of the teams, but that would be perfect because that's what I think is going to go down to. And then I think but having said that, obviously that'll lead to a wild card win for the Padres. And then I think the Braves are going to sneak it. As I said, I was excited about the Dodgers, but I think the Braves just have a little extra, especially in the position players. And then it's going to be Yankees winning. I'm proud of the bias. They're going to be winning in the American League. But I actually think the Padres are going to make a deep run, a Cinderella run, and make it all the way to the World Series and just fall short in a rematch of the 98 World Series. So we're going to go with Yankees over the Padres in 5.
5. Ooh, he didn't pick 6. He didn't pick everyone's favorite number today.
I think the more veteran team with a lot of playoff experience will humble the Padres, and they're going to be even scarier the next season. But it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Kill it for 2 hours. I hope we can rekindle in 6 months from now and talk about playoff prediction. I'll definitely make sure I'll let you guys know with that. But I just appreciate you guys. Is there any final words you say besides just so happy baseball is back?
Happy baseball is back. Let's go.
Happy baseball. Let's go.
Let's go Yanks, baby. Come on now.
Let's go Mets. Let's go.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, super excited baseball back. And Matt, again, thank you so much for having us on the show this time. I had a great time. It was great meeting Allie. It was so much fun. So, thank you again for having us. We always appreciate you having us on and talking sports. And like I said, baseball's back and I'm super excited. Let's go.
Yeah, brother.
It's a pleasure as always, guys. We will definitely do this before the playoffs in October. And I just appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you all real soon.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Bye-bye.